What's up guys, Jack here, and welcome back to the Jock of All Trades channel. Now, I uploaded my first gaming setup video 11 years ago in 2015, and at the time I was just a kid with no money, just scrapping together what I have. Piece by piece, I evolved my setup, and all those years have culminated in what you guys see behind me, perfectly curating each piece of the setup to support my work as an engineer and my hobbies of gaming, editing videos, etc. Now, in all that time, I've learned a lot about tech for your setup, and specifically today, I wanted to talk about diminishing returns when it comes to specific parts of your setup. So today we're gonna walk through all the major components of my setup. Some things have been in my setup for over 10 years, some things I got last week. And we're gonna categorize each piece of tech into an area where you should spend, meaning this is an area where you should stretch your budget to get the highest end component, an area where you should optimize, meaning you should find that balance of value and performance, or an area where you should save, where a budget option might just do you fine, and you can allocate that money elsewhere to your setup. So with that, let's head over to the desk, take a look at my setup, and break down each individual piece I'm using today. Now let's start first with the GPU. This is the engine of your setup, and for me, who's a big gamer, video editor, and someone who's starting to dabble into big AI workloads, this is an area where I personally do not want to compromise. This is easily the most expensive component in my entire setup, and I have a dedicated video to the RTX 5090 FE. If you guys want to check that out, you can click up here. But all in all, this thing's an absolute beast of a card. I upgraded to this thing from an RTX 2070 that I was running for over 6 years, so I certainly know the struggles of having a suboptimal GPU, especially when all the newer models come out and start to pass your tech. Investing in a high-end 50 series card like the 5080 or 5090, or even the 9070 XT from AMD is certainly worth it for someone like me who does a lot of gaming, a lot of video editing. And I think personally, with this new age of AI that we're going into for self-hosted AI, that 5090 is gonna be worth its weight in gold. So in my opinion, this is an area where you wanna spend and max out the performance, as this is really the engine behind a gaming setup or workstation, and you really wanna buy yourself as much runway as possible to prevent you from having to upgrade every year. Next up is something that I bought more recently, and that's this chair that I'm sitting in. This is the Fractal Refine, and I came to this thing from an old desk chair that I got for basically free. I sit in this thing probably 8 hours a day for work, and then at least 4 to 6 hours for gaming, editing, etc. after work. When you're pushing 12 to 14 hours a day in a chair like me, this is certainly a place where you want to invest. Get something with a lot of adjustments. You don't necessarily need to go balling out for a $2,000 Herman Miller. This chair right here is like 500 bucks, but just ensure that it's something that fits your height and weight and has enough adjustments to where you can dial in a perfect sitting position, whether that's hunched over coding or reclined all the way back playing games with a controller. Now, this chair has been great for me so far. I do have one major complaint, and that being the fabric itself on here. I went with the mesh variant, and specifically when wearing shorts, this is an area where it can start to cause some discomfort, especially sitting for long periods of time. So if you were to get this chair, I would recommend getting the other fabric option, which I think is like more of a cloth. Maybe that'll be a little softer for you. But overall, I consider the chair to be an area where you want to spend, as this is something that can directly influence your physical health. Now, next up is the mouse, and this is something that I've really been trying to dial in recently. If you guys saw my Super Strike video, my G502 died recently, and I was looking for a replacement, and I gotta admit, I didn't really know what I was getting into when I started going down the mouse rabbit hole. There's like 100 Asian guys out there that are just fully dedicated to like grinding mouse reviews. So I appreciate all of their base of work. I ended up picking up both the Super Strike and another mouse, the WL mouse Beast X Max. And in terms of lightweight gaming mice, these are two of the best options you can have. I've really just been flip-flopping between, trying to see which one fits my hand shape better and which one's more comfortable for long periods of time. And for work, I've been using the MX Master 4. I think this thing is huge for productivity. Has some hotkeys you can bind. I love the thumb button for going into control panel on Mac. I love the thumb wheel for sliding between different desktops. Just overall makes my workflow super easy, and it's probably the most essential work tool I have outside of my work computer itself. And those mice, in my opinion, play such a crucial role, especially the MX Master for my workflow. I think this is certainly an area where it's worth it to spend to test out a few different options, because once you find a mouse that works for your workflow or your grip style, I think you can start to justify spending over $100 a mouse, especially when you're getting things like premium materials, extra features, and pretty built-out software experiences. So for mice, I'm gonna recommend this as an area where you wanna spend, and make sure you dial in that fit for your hand. Now, the desk is obviously a super important part of your setup. You want something very sturdy. Maybe you want sit-stand functionality. Maybe you want things like built-in cable routing, or maybe you want it made out of a premium material like wood or epoxy. But nowadays, a good sit-stand desk with a wood top and some basic cable management can run you easily close to $2,000. Frankly, I don't think that's worth it at all. My setup was built on an IKEA table for the last like 8 years, and I only recently upgraded to this butcher block desk behind me. You guys can also check out the build video for that right here. But I think this is an area where if you're willing to put in a little bit of work and build your own desk, you can shave off at least half of the price. I probably saved around $1,300 doing this on my own, rather than paying for like an Uplift or some other high-end desk brand. And frankly, I think mine turned out a lot nicer. It has more depth. I got to pick my own finish, and I got to build in any features I wanted, like a holder for my work laptop or cable management. So while you can certainly get away with gaming on an IKEA desk, like I said, I gamed on an IKEA desk for a long time. I think this is an area where if you optimize your spending and are willing to put in a little bit of work to build your own desk, you can have something that's really personal, feature rich, and supports supports your workflow without breaking the bank. So for desks, I'm gonna recommend to optimize your spending. Next up, I wanted to talk about the rest of the PC outside of my GPU. The CPU, the RAM, the storage, the case, all of that stuff I'm kind of lumping into one thing, and this is fully dependent on what type of work you're planning to do at your setup. But from a strictly gaming perspective, you're really getting a lot of marginal returns as you start to spend more in these categories that are outside of the GPU. Now, if you're in the middle of a new PC build and you don't really know where to start, I'd highly recommend Micro Center's bundle option. You can get a CPU, motherboard, and RAM, all for one lower price than the individual components. And then you can probably budget another $200 or $300, get a case, PSU, drives, and a couple fans. I really don't think this is an area where you need to fully ball out. And after you get to a certain tier of processor, you're really starting to get diminishing returns, especially when it comes to gaming. I know the 9800 X3D is the top end gaming processor, but as you continue to go up in price, it's not scaling linearly in terms of the performance you're getting back. So definitely take a look at some benchmarks for this. This is an area where you want to optimize your spending and focus on value as it applies to your use case for your setup. Now, next up is audio. I spent a lot of money on headphones and different types of IEMs, wireless, open back, closed back, receivers, etc. I don't think this is personally an area where you want to completely ball out and go all out, obviously with the exception of like if you're in a music production or something like that. But for 98% of people, something like the Beyerdynamic DT900 Pro X is a great balance of value and performance. I get super crisp audio, and with it being open back, I get a super wide soundstage, so I'm really able to pinpoint things like footsteps in video games. If you want something a little more traditional or all-in-one, I've used the same pair of Bose QC35s for like 8 years now. I've replaced the ear pads a couple times, but if you're just looking for one headphone where you just want to be able to game, take work calls, take it on the plane, the Bose Quiet Comfort over ears are pretty much unbeaten, especially in terms of noise canceling capabilities. So in my opinion, obviously don't cheap out here, but you can certainly optimize. You don't need to be spending like $500+ on a pair of insane headphones. And if you guys are into IEMs, you can certainly get a nice pair for right around $100. I don't think this is an area where you want to break the bank, so I'm going to recommend optimizing your audio setup to provide a neutral listening experience that you can apply across all use cases. Now, next up, I think might be a bit of a controversial one, and this is monitors. And I've had the same LG 27-inch 1440p 144 Hz monitors for pretty much the last 5 or 6 years. Yes, I could upgrade to 4K with my 5090. Yes, I could upgrade to OLED, but frankly, I don't think this is an area where you really need to be spending over $1,000. Monitor and display technology has come an insanely long way since I released my first monitor video on this BenQ, and you can get something pretty much fully feature-rich, good refresh rate for gaming, 1440p resolution, and a good size for right around like $200-300 nowadays. These would have been considered top-end gaming monitors even just a few years ago, and frankly, I think this is an area where you have some of the most diminishing returns. Yes, curved monitors are cool. Yes, OLED is cool. But for the most part, if you just find something that has good colors, a decent resolution, a good refresh rate, and is somewhere in that 27 to 32 inch size range, I think you'd be surprised just how many options are actually out there in that like $200 to $300 price range. And so for monitors, this is an area where I'm going to recommend to optimize. I think once you cross that line of specs that I laid out, right, 1440p, 144 Hertz, 1 millisecond response time, 27 to 32 inches, the diminishing returns really starts to kick in after that, in my opinion, and you're really targeting that like $200 to $300 price range where you can scoop up 1 or 2 or even 3 monitors, all for the price of like one super high-end OLED monitor. So that would be my recommendation for monitors. I think this is an area where you want to optimize your spending. Now, this one I think will definitely get me some controversy, and that's your keyboard. Now, I do have a custom keyboard. I built it at an in-person shop in Singapore. It was a really cool experience. I got to pick all my own switches out, pick all my keycaps and my board. I probably spent around $180 on it. And while it does feel really nice to type on, frankly, I don't think this is an area where you need to invest a lot of money. Yes, Hall effect keyboards would be nice for gaming. Yes, perfectly lubed, high-end switches are gonna sound and feel really cool. But at the end of the day, in my opinion, as long as you like typing on it and it's responsive enough for games you're playing, I really don't think keyboards are gonna make that much of a difference at the end of the day. Again, this is totally like a personal preference thing. I think if you just find something you like for example, my old $25 Cooler Master keyboard, which is still kicking around somewhere in my closet, that thing was amazing to both type and game on. And I think keyboards specifically are an easy place to spend a lot of money, and it only returns you a very marginal gain. So performance-wise, you're not really getting anything back. It's mostly just a full feel thing. I don't personally think this is an area where you should be spending like $200 plus on a keyboard. There's so many great options around like that $60 range. But again, just find something that you like, and I'd be careful with anything too clicky. Make sure it's something that you're not gonna get sick of after a few weeks. So for keyboards, I'm gonna recommend saving. You don't have to get necessarily the bottom of the barrel, but there's so many great options out there that'll be more than fine for any setup. Now, next up is my mounting arms. I have mounting arms for both my monitor monitor and my microphone. These are both from Amazon. They've both held up great through multiple moves. I think I've had the mic arm in particular for almost 10 years now, and they both offer great positioning. You know, they're not the most feature rich or anything like that, but for me, I'm gonna recommend this as an area where you wanna save. I do think it's worth getting a monitor arm and getting a mic arm, because for me personally, I like having that clutter off of my desk, and I like the ability to be able to reposition my monitors, rotate them when I need them. Obviously the mic, pushing it in and out of the way is a lot easier when it's on an arm. But for these, you can pretty much just go cheap on Amazon. I'll leave some links to the ones that I use in the description below. So for mounting equipment, I'm gonna recommend you save. You don't need to buy that fancy Rode mic arm. You don't need to buy some like insane hydraulic monitor arm. Some cheap ones with good reviews from Amazon will do the trick just fine. And again, mine have been holding up for years and years through multiple moves. I've lost a bunch of screws and they still work fine. So I'm gonna recommend saving on your mounting hardware. Now, next up is microphone. And I've really only had 2 microphones over the last 10 years. One was the Blue Snowball, which again, I did a video on a long time ago. You guys can check that out up here. It's not a very good video, but pretty funny to look back on. And more recently, I've been using this Shure MV6 microphone, as my Blue Snowball finally gave out after 8 hard years of service. And all I have to say about microphones really is that the Blue Snowball was great then. It's still great now. Honestly, I like this Shure mic that I have, but I'm honestly probably just gonna get another Blue Snowball. It's somewhere in that like $50 range. All of my friends always said I had some of the best audio on Discord and like TeamSpeak and stuff like that. And the fact that it was surviving 8 years of me basically just spitting directly into it is a huge testament to Blue's build quality. I recorded almost all of my old videos using that microphone. And honestly, if you have a basic skill set in Audacity, you can remove any noise, equalize any of your audio, and make any slight adjustments to make the Blue Snowball sound like a pro quality mic. And I also use these DJI clip-on mics for when I'm recording in front of the camera like this. Again, you guys can check out the video I made of that right here. And these run about 200 bucks, and I still think the Blue Snowball sounds better. So it might just be biased for me, but I think this is an area where you can save. Don't overthink it, get a Blue Snowball. So that's pretty much it for today, guys. And this video is meant to be more of a buyer's guide / priority list for upgrading your setup. But if you guys want a more in-depth tour of my actual setup or even my room as a whole, feel free to let me know down in the comments below. All of the products from my setup and anything I mentioned today in the video would be linked to the description. And if you guys have any questions about any specific product, or maybe you're torn between a couple different options, feel free to leave those questions down in the comments below as well, and I'll be sure to take a look. Thank you guys so much for watching. I'll see you on the next one, and peace.